Welcome to the On Purpose Investor Podcast with your host Eric and Tiffany Vogel. We've spent several hard years building a rental property portfolio so we can have more time with our family and live our ideal life. Now, finding your path can be difficult, so we're here to guide you along the way with lessons, tips, and tricks to design and implement your dream life. Now, sit back, turn up the volume, smash that follow button, and get ready for this episode of the On Purpose Investor. Hey Pathfinders, welcome back to the On Purpose Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And Tiffany.
You remember, in episode 23, I said, hey, just wait a little bit, because I'm going to, build up for it.
No.
We'll do it next time.
I'm choosing to not remember.
We'll do it next time. Anyways.
We'll say it's pregnancy brain.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, welcome back to the On Purpose Investor Podcast. We're so glad you're here and joining us this week as we dive into episode number 27. This week, we're going to be continuing our discussion with objections that either newbie real estate investors or seasoned real estate investors have to either moving forward or continuing their movement. And on episode 27, today's episode is about education and ability. What objections do you have against either getting started or staying going when it comes to education and ability?
Yeah, I think it kind of comes down in a way to experience. So thinking you can't get started or do the next thing. Like say you want to go from single family houses to big apartment complexes, but you don't have, I guess, that tool in your toolbox. So you feel like you can't do it because you don't have the ability and the education, the knowledge, experience, right. Really.
So jumping from $100,000 houses to $1 million houses,
right,
or properties.
Yeah.
That is a hard thing to overcome. Right. You know, when you first get started, it's how do I go from investing $0 to investing $100,000? That's a big jump.
Right.
And then jumping from I invest in $100,000 properties to I invest in $1 million properties.
Right.
That's a big thing to overcome in your mind. And if your mindset is not thinking through, okay, you know, it's a bigger property to take down, I just have to change how I'm taking it down.
Right.
You know, it all comes back to what type of education do you have in that realm, and are you comfortable moving forward with it? So we're going to talk about the objections you might have. Today we're going to be talking all about education and stuff like that. So there are a lot of things we're not going to elaborate on, because if you jump back to episode 14, is education worth it? We do go really in depth into what different types of education and even some of the teachers and mentors we've had into getting your education on it. Yeah,
and we don't want to waste your time rehashing what you can go back and listen to if that's an area you need. I know we have one listener who that was one of his least favorite episodes because he's not a real estate investor. So Dr. Ralph, shout out to you. We're not going to repeat everything.
He said, you just kept naming people. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But some people out there really want to get into who our teachers were, who our teachers are, what mentors we have followed, and stuff like that. But this episode, we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty on that. We're going to be overarching. How do we turn these objections into actionable tasks? Yeah,
changing the mindset, really, instead of the practical tips of where to get the education.
So what is the objection someone may have as a self-conversation in their mind?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking with a young lady a lot of late, and she is a college student, and I think she, in her mind, I'm a college student. I don't have a job. Full-time job, so I don't have the money to start. And my conversations with her have been, well, could you save some money, and while you're going through school, she's in the National Guard with you, so she could potentially save some money from that, but could she potentially save and educate over the next couple of years while she's still in school, so that when she graduates and gets that full-time salary, that you go from making not a whole lot to a lot when you graduate college. Yeah. Even if it's not a huge salary.
Well, you may go from a monthly stipend of $500 at your university,
right, into
making, $2,500 to $3,500 a month.
That's a huge jump.
That's a really big jump. And a lot of people will say, well, now it's time to buy that car, buy that house, live this lifestyle that this income can afford me. Maybe instead you could say, Okay, well, I'm going to keep living like a college kid.
Yeah, that's what I've been kind of chatting with her about is, maybe you eat a little bit healthier. I know healthy food's important to her, so spend some money on increasing your food budget, get off the ramen noodles.
Right.
And look at things like house hacking and continuing living the college lifestyle with having roommates, but you own the house instead of paying a landlord.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of strategies there, but I think there's some hesitation because she doesn't know everything, but you're not going to know everything.
No.
And she's just one example. I mean, you could be a stay-at-home mom. You could be a truck driver, or you could be working a white-collar job. I mean, really any realm when you get started or you're moving up to that next level, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were doing. We had no clue.
Not a clue.
Which is why we had to get on Bigger Pockets and start learning, because we were not managing the way we should have.
Yeah. So during this episode, I want you, our listeners, to have this conversation with yourself and be honest with yourself. And we're going to say, you need to ask yourself this question. I am a blank. And this is where you insert your occupation, what you do day in, day out, right? I am a babysitter. I am a stay-at-home mom. I am a VP of sales for this job. And I don't have the knowledge or ability to do blank, which is investing in real estate or getting more money invested in my Roth IRA or
whatever that goal is that
whatever
gets
the
you
goal.
to your dream life.
Yeah. So I am a blank, insert your personal thing here, and I don't have the knowledge or ability to do blank. And hopefully through this episode, we're going to walk you through how to transform that into I am a blank, and I can gain knowledge and ability by doing blank so that I can do blank.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
so
a lot of blanks.
that's
there.
a lot of blanks. It's like being on a sim round in some military training. It's just you got magazines of blanks, just shooting blanks. Anyways,
okay.
Let's keep going. So, real estate knowledge is very accessible without needing formal education.
Right.
There's a ton of it out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the few areas where you can go and make a very healthy income without formal training.
Yeah.
You don't need a college degree in real estate. It probably would not hurt, but...
One of my favorite people to watch and follow that preach this is Graham Stephan.
Yeah.
He just a high school kid that did he try to go to college and then was like, I'm done with it?
I don't recall. I know he did not go to college. I think he was pushed to it. I don't know if he actually went, but
Right.
He is 32. He's an old timer by YouTube standards.
Yeah.
But he has built a healthy real estate company.
Mm-hmm. And he's buying investment properties. He's out in California.
I think he moved.
Did he move?
Yeah. I think he
was he part of the
migration.
the Brexit of
The
California?
Brexit. God. All right.
But he's someone that I love listening to because he built something pretty remarkable without an insane amount of money given to formal education.
Right.
He didn't go get a bachelor, master, doctorate to now have what he has. He just put in a ton of work.
Right.
And studied his butt off.
And we both have college degrees.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you use your music education degree in real estate?
In real estate, I use the education side of it a lot,
Okay.
and a lot of the communication skills part of it. But when it comes to how to prepare a piece or
music theory, all
conduct,
those
or
classes,
the pedagogy of getting someone from not playing an instrument to playing an instrument, all the micro steps involved. Yeah, I don't use that.
Yeah.
And you use your data and analytics.
A little bit, yeah. I use a little bit of my background, but it's not necessary.
It's
it's part of the tools in our toolbox, and we all have different tools. And no matter what skill or trade or job you're in, you have tools in your toolbox. Even if you're a college kid.
Right.
You might not know it yet because you're still kind of figuring out what you want to do with your life, but you have tools available.
And it's really difficult for you to not use that big Georgetown degree you got in finance because you did learn a lot.
I did
there, and it has helped us tremendously when it comes to financial planning within our business,
right?
And forecasting and strategizing on how to tackle projects and how to budget it and what's interest rates and stuff
the
like
funny
that.
thing
That's
is,
your lane.
A lot of that degree program was how to be a good stock investor and trader.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of it's not used, but there was a hefty section on options, so that comes in handy for sure.
Well, there you go. So,
but you don't have to have it, though, is the point. Like, yes, it helps, but it's not a requirement to have any kind of degree.
No, not
you don't even have to have high school degree or middle school degree. You can do it just by investing in yourself and finding a way.
It's probably one of the lowest barrier to entries to be successful.
Right, and you can grow to the maximum amount of wealth. Yeah. It's
depending on your hustle.
Right.
Because, at the great University of YouTube, you can get a doctorate, essentially.
There were some
quotes by just studying. Yeah, I did some air quotes if you're not watching this in the video form. But, okay, so what are some super low barrier to entry, free options for people to get education in real estate?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have come to us saying, hey, you've saved, go run the numbers, but what does that mean? Mm-hmm. We started with a Brandon Turner webinar, which I don't think Brandon's doing them anymore, but
it might be archived. You might be able to go check it out.
I think David's doing them now, but go into Bigger Pockets. One of the teachers from Bigger Pockets will be doing it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they just walk you step by step how to run the numbers on a property.
Yeah, they will straight up pull a deal off of Zillow.
Right.
And start running comparables and start doing rehab costs for that zip code, what different things cost for that zip code.
Right.
And at the end of that session of running the numbers on that property, you're able to see what is the projected ROI, the return on investment. What's the potential returns, cash flow, and all the different returns, and how many years is it going to take for you to recapture your money invested? Right. And they have a really great tool. Yeah. And that webinar really helped us to figure out, is this the process we're going to use? And Tiffany's like, it's a little clunky. It doesn't move as fast as I want it to. So she, with her infinite amount of wisdom in Excel, went and just built our own.
That's because I'm extra, though. It's not. There's nothing wrong with the tool. I'm just extra. But there's in essence, we paid a lot of money in education to shortcut. So it's not just running numbers on a deal. It's property management. We've taken courses on that. It's deal structuring. I mean, anything that we do, pretty much we have paid someone to teach us how to do it.
That's right.
Even when we knew how to do.
Yeah, even
we had a pretty good property management system going.
Yeah, we were doing okay, but that's when we had less than 4 homes.
Right.
And when you're less than 4 homes, you can kind of put those fires out fairly easy. But when you're managing 29 units, that gets a little cumbersome, and you need that help.
Right. It just refined our systems in a way that you shortcut with 30 years of experience plus. I don't know how, but anyways. We also can listen to podcasts. That's a very, very low barrier.
Right.
It's so easy to listen to one while you're driving, so you're not really wasting time. You're focusing
on the road, so you're not really listening as in depth as if you were sitting in a dark room listening and writing notes.
How would you be sitting in a dark room writing notes?
Glow in the dark pens.
Okay. Just making sure we're clear.
And glow in the dark paper.
So gel pens.
Is this 1996? We're just got our little pencil bag full of
I think I need to go get some gel pens.
Anyways, so, even if you're not fully focused on that podcast, your brain is hearing more than you realize, and you're just immersing yourself in whatever you're studying.
Yep.
So
there's also books. Speaking of, the Pathfinder's Journey is on Amazon if you want to take a look. That's our recently released book. Mm-hmm. Highly recommend it. It's helping you change your mindset to reach your goals.
By reading about someone else's journey.
Yeah.
You see them go from the, typical status quo American working, 40 hours a week. You have a teacher and a firefighter, married couple, and, they get interrupted by their neighbor who steers them toward financial independence through investing in real estate. Yeah. And you get to see all the changes they go through. And it's one of those books to where we want you to be able to pick it up and say, how can I really change my life through real estate investing? And you're going to get all of the things you need to start. Yeah. You're going to know what books to read. You're going to see what kind of hustle it takes. You're going to see what kind of mindset it's going to take. And, by the end of that book, you're going to have a really good idea on what is it really going to take. And if you got kids, if you're a seasoned investor and you have children and they're not really interested in what you do as a business, and you've tried and tried and tried to get them involved, well, go hand them the Pathfinder's Journey, or, give them an Audible credit, because it'll be on Audible, and say, just listen to this. It's 4 hours. It'll take you maybe 4 or 5 hours to read this, and this will tell you what we do. And this will show you how it could change your life.
Yeah. So. All right. Shameless plug over.
And cut.
All right. So it's, you're in essence learning a new language.
Mm-hmm. And there's tools out there. Like if I want to go learn German, which our neighbor is German, and
are you going to learn German now?
His father just recently, his mom and dad just recently visited from Switzerland, and they speak German. And I really wanted to have German conversations with them. And, I picked up on words here and there, but when he comes back in a couple months, I want to be able to have a somewhat conversation with him. So, yes, I am going to be diving into Duolingo and trying to learn a little bit more German.
Okay.
But, it's
you're
like
using
learning.
A tool.
I'm using a tool that it's a low barrier to entry. I don't know how much it costs. It's probably free to begin with. You could do advanced studies for more.
I think you can buy, skip days and stuff.
Oh.
To keep your streak.
Oh, okay, I see. That's how they get you.
Yeah.
There's always a catch.
Yes.
Always a catch.
But when you're starting in real estate, there is a language. I know people have come to me and say, hey, you said this on the podcast. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. And we try to put everything on, the lowest level possible so that no one's left behind. But sometimes we forget because you speak fluently in that language, and sometimes it's just second nature.
Yeah. Yep. And, it's important to reach out and say, hey, use this acronym. And I've tried Googling it and it doesn't show up. So what is this acronym?
Right. Or just a term or a concept.
Yeah.
It is a new language. When we first started going to our local meetup, we would call each other on the way home and be like, oh my gosh, my brain. I just can't. What do you think about when they said this or that? And
do you think this could be our strategy? Is this our race?
Right.
What this was before we took any steps forward in our journey. And we're like, we got to make a step in a direction. What direction are we going? And every time we went to this meetup, there was a new direction shown. And we're like, is this our first step, or is this our first step? And we're like, are we chasing, maximum cash flow? Or are we chasing, ease of business? What are we chasing?
Yeah.
And it just took time to hear it all and then formulate, is this part of our journey? Does this align with our roadmap? Does this get us to our ultimate why? And it just took time to do it.
Yeah.
So go to those meetups. The meetups are usually free,
right?
For the first time or close to free. So, that's another way to get into education in real estate investing without having to spend a ton of money.
Right.
So
some other potential strategies, partnering. If you feel like you just don't know what you're doing and you're uncomfortable, find an experienced investor and offer to work for them for free or provide some kind of service to them.
Mm-hmm.
And just learn.
That's right.
We probably could have shortcutted a lot had we done more shadowing and just volunteering time to go help someone with a demo just to be around them and learn.
Because I promise you, any seasoned investor or any investor, if they got a project house in their hands and they just took it down, there's going to be a clean out, even if it's small. And they're usually hiring people to go clean that stuff out. And they don't like that part. Now, when it comes to demo, sometimes demo can be fun. But when it comes to clean out, you're getting rid of old stuff. You're pulling out carpet, and you're just getting rid of the nasty stuff that was left in the house. And if you can just be on someone's team to say, hey, I will go do the clean out. I will do the clean out for you. I would love to be able to help you in some way. That way I can just learn from you. Yeah. I want to be a fly on the wall when you're talking to your contractors. I want to just be a fly on the wall to see how you set it up, but I want to be there at your expense and help you out.
Right.
And by offering yourself up for free, there's a chance that investor might want to pay you and say, you know what, you did a lot of work. Here's $100. Right. But what you're really gaining is being around that investor.
Right. It's a free education.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, an offer to take them to lunch, potentially, if doing cleanouts not your fit in your dream life, that's not something that really aligns with what you want to do, find another way.
Yeah,
if that's right. I mean, I'm not going to go do a clean out sitting here 6 months pregnant.
Right, but maybe you have the interior design bug, and you know how to interior design, and the investor that you want to work with is doing Airbnbs.
Right.
Say, hey, can I give you some color swatches and furniture shopping carts to look at that I think would pair really nicely? And if you just gave them that in a PDF format, and they just got an email that says, here's your design, and they didn't have to pay for it, and they didn't have to think about it, and you know what? They might really love it, and they're probably going to say, hey, I really want you to be over at the house when all this delivers because I want you to set it up, and I want to pay you to do it. And you're like, no, don't pay me. I just want to be there. So while I'm setting all this up, please be there so I can ask you questions. Yeah. And that's another way to get involved.
Right.
There are countless ways to get involved. Right. Maybe you're a money person and you're a books person. You're like, I'll help you scan receipts. I'll do some bookkeeping for you. There are many ways to get into a real estate investor's circle without bugging them, without begging them for time, and without harassing them and giving them value.
Well, and I think the big thing is what skills you have. That investor does not.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to go say, how can I help you?
Right.
Go to that investor and say, hey, I have interior design skills. I have data skills, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really good at blank. We're throwing the blanks back in.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really good at blank. How can I help you in your business?
Right. And at this recent meetup, there's a need for us. And we would like to have some deals come our way. That way we can, keep buying here and there. And the best way to find deals for the most part is, door knocking and mailers and cold calling and stuff like that.
Off-market deals.
Off-market deals. And we don't really have the time for it. We're busy chasing a 1.5 or 2-year-old and, getting the book launched and managing, podcasts and stuff like that. And so we're very willing to pay a newbie investor to go out and door knock for us or to find deals for us. And, we'll pay them finder's fees for locating those homes.
Right.
So you can be of value to someone. Just tell them what you're willing to do.
Right.
And tell them what you're good at.
Definitely. We talked about this back on episode 14, but going to seminars.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to travel for a lot of them now because COVID changed the world. So a lot of them are offered on Zoom. So for $600, you can gain, 20, 30, 40 years of experience from someone and shortcut your path. I highly recommend. It's just a no-brainer to me. I mean, I know when we first started that $600, it's like, why wouldn't we invest that in our properties? I know we made back more than what we spent on our education.
Yeah,
so.
the cost of a, let's say the whole seminar trip with travel and hotel and the seminar costs, let's say it's $2,000, and you just spent 3 days for $2,000 to be surrounded by the people in this world.
Yep.
And at the end of it, you have a journal slap full and a course workbook slap full of notes to move forward. And now
relationships.
And you have all these contacts. And you get back home and and you're sharing with your family and friends what you just learned. I don't know, that just lights a fire in me to know that someone could seriously change their life for $1,000 to $2,000.
Right. Well, you think about the person who's working with us now in the rental business.
Yeah.
All of that because he showed up to a seminar and asked some questions.
And showed interest.
Right.
And, he was just like, when he came to us and was like, I want to know more about you and what you do in your business. And, like Tiffany says, if you tell someone, hey, what do you do? What do you do in your business? And we start telling them, well, we love talking about what we do because we think it's impactful and we think it's meaningful. But when they hear it, they're like, oh, wow, I want to do what they're doing. And now there's this mutual connection of we love sharing, they love hearing, let's continue to collaborate. And now that has, grown and formed into we're teammates now. And they're adding value to us, we're adding value to him. And, it's a good collaboration.
Yeah, definitely. So you can also use money to shortcut through coaching and mentoring, those are usually high dollar programs, but you can get one-on-one advice specific for your situation, and that'll be rocket fuel to get you to the next level.
Yeah.
And then there's also hiring out. You know, you don't have to learn everything if you can who not how the situation.
Was that Dan Sullivan?
I think so.
That did Who Not How?
And Ben Hardy.
Ben Hardy. Yeah. That book really changed my life.
Yeah.
Because I swear, after I read that book, I went to Tiffany and said, selling my truck.
And the trailer.
And everything else that I would have used to work on houses.
Yeah.
I said, I'm selling the tools, I'm selling the truck, I'm selling the trailer. And she's like, why are you doing all this? And I said, because I can't progress any further. I can't become the next version of myself, the better version of myself, if I'm still out there
if you
working
still have
on
the
those
ability
houses.
to go work on
And
them.
so I removed any ability for me to go move lumber, for me to move things, for me to haul things.
Baseboards on the
Well, here and there, I might
top of the CRV.
I might strap a board or two to the top of my car. But when it comes to showing up to a haul away, and I need to get rid of trash, I would go get my dump trailer,
right,
and I would show up and I would load it and I would take it to the dump and I would get rid of it.
Right.
Which I'm not gonna lie, I really love doing that because I don't know, it's hard work in ways, and I get to drive with a trailer, and I love doing those tasks. I really do. But my time is not best spent doing those tasks. Right. And so now, I got rid of the truck and the trailer and the tools. And so now I call the roll-off company and say, hey, we need a roll-off. And the crew that's working on the house will load it up, and they come haul it away.
It saves you a lot of money, too. Because,
at the end of the day, it's probably cheaper to do it that way.
Right. I mean, especially with where gas prices wound up this summer. And
the fact that every time you go to the landfill to dump, you got a nail going in the tire. Right. So there were 4 tires on that trailer, and I think I replaced them 3 or 4 times in a 12-month period. Yeah. All 4 of them. Yeah. 3 or 4 times. Yeah. So I should have just got run flats. Like, you put a nail in it, it just shoots the nail out. I was like, no, I'm not going flat today.
I don't know what that means, but sounds good.
Yeah. They're expensive tires. And I don't think they actually work that way. I think they're just full of gelatin. They just self-seal.
Oh. Anyways.
You
found a way.
The who not how, I found a way to who can do this instead of how can I do this.
And if you need to do something, you still can go rent a pickup truck.
And I've done it. Yeah.
I mean, you've rented a U-Haul.
I've rented a U-Haul probably 2 or 3 times when it comes to, setting up a rent by the room house, and all of the furniture needs to get put in over there. And during construction, we don't want all the stuff delivered to that house while, walls are being built and it's getting painted. So we have it delivered to our house, and when it's all said and done, I just get a little tiny U-Haul, load it up, drive out to the property, set it all up, and then return the U-Haul.
Right. So when you do need a truck,
it's like a $40 event, which plus gas. So
yeah, but filling up your truck every week was, with gas prices now.
Oh, it was rough.
Yeah,
it was very rough. So
you save money and you're doing less work.
Well, I wouldn't know if I would say less work, because my work is now focused in a different direction.
Right. But you're working less on the properties.
I will say this: if I never sold the truck and trailer and tools, I would have never wrote the book.
Yeah, I agree.
We would have never kicked off this podcast.
Would have found, there's, this thing needs to be handled, and you would have done it instead of taking the time to call someone else to do it.
We would never be in the position we are right now to be able to say, hey, in 6 months, we're going to travel for a year. We're going to go and get this RV, and we're going to be on the road for a year.
Right.
We would have never been able to do that had we not just gotten ourselves out of the business.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was the one in the business. I mean, you can always work remote.
Yeah.
And
the nature of my work is different.
Yeah.
So I can be in the business and still travel and do...
I'm the functionality of the home.
Right.
And making sure the doors open, lights are on, water runs. You are, make sure it's paid, make sure all the utilities are paid, make sure tenants are paying, make sure the mortgage is paid. You're all the stuff that happens remotely.
Right.
I'm all the stuff that happens in person. So finding a way to not just let it go, but let it go in a way that I feel comfortable that the house is still going to run.
Right.
Because when you renovate 10 homes, and you get it all set up, there's a big sense of pride. Hey, they haven't called us in 6 months.
Right.
And they're calling now to say there's a leak in this faucet. I'm prideful of that leaky faucet because I need to go fix it. I'm not prideful that it is leaking. I am taking pride that I can fix it to make it not leak.
Right.
And because it's leaking, now I'm shamed that it's leaking because I installed that faucet. And then, there's this big ego thing of I can't have a leaky faucet in a house that I renovated. And so, anyways.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, and it was big because I took a lot of pride in making sure these houses were functional.
Yeah, definitely.
And so when I was able to remove myself and say, I'm not even part of the renovation, I'm going to trust that they're going to put it together the right way.
Right.
And that it's going to be set up the right way. And that was a huge thing to let go.
Yeah.
To say...
That was the new ability you needed, though.
Yeah.
And the education in that was reading Who Not How to learn how to let go.
Yeah.
And then you developed that skill slowly. It took a lot of time to get to where you're comfortable.
It took a long time. And it's still taking time.
Yeah.
Because I still want to go to those houses.
I know you
Every
do.
time I see a maintenance request come in, I'm like, oh, that would be so easy.
I could do it in 10 minutes.
I could do it in 10. And then I get over there and it's like, no, this is a 3-hour thing.
Right.
But I really enjoy it because...
And then you have a hangry child and wife at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who Not How. Fantastic book.
It is a good one.
So we started talking in the beginning about objections and saying, I am a fill in the blank of your identity, and I don't have the knowledge or ability to do this thing that's going to help me reach my dream life.
Right.
So now that we've talked through all this.
So what all did we talk through? We talked about the, real estate is very accessible without formal education.
Right.
We talked about, partnering with a seasoned investor or just partnering with someone that's already doing it. They can still be a newbie.
Right.
And maybe you're just learning alongside of them and they're just one step ahead. And that's something, I don't know if we talk about it in a podcast or in the book, but you have something to offer somebody, even if you're just getting started.
Right.
Because you're one step ahead.
Yeah.
So if you're one step ahead of someone else and they're like, hey, what do you do in real estate? And you're like, I'm just getting started. You still know more than them.
Right.
So don't forget to turn around, reach back, grab their hand, help them along the way. Right. And let them help you. You're helping someone else. Let them help you help someone else.
Right.
It's like, it can be really inception. So, and we talked about, going to seminars.
Yeah.
We talked about being able to shortcut with money.
Yeah.
And we talked about, that was it.
That was it.
So, of those items, transform your statement from the beginning. I am a blank, and I can do blank to take the first step.
Right.
So, let's fill in the
So,
blank.
with our friend we were talking about earlier, she's a student.
So, I am a college student.
Right.
And I can
Learn about real estate.
learn about real estate.
So that I can take the first step when I graduate and have an income.
There you go.
There's small actions you can do now
Mm-hmm.
to set you up for when you are ready.
Yeah.
Like right now, I know I have a couple months of runway and then I'm going to be in the dark hole that is newborn parenting life.
Yeah.
So what can I do in the next couple of months to prepare myself for the business, for, just parenting in general and
Right.
everything that goes with childbirth? But what can I do that's small actions today that will set me up when the big shift comes?
That's right.
And if you don't have a big shift coming up, you can just take small daily action. And then one day you're going to look up and be like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to go buy a house.
Yep. And you might be 23 years old when that happens. And then all of your 23-year-old friends are getting their first job out of college. And you are sitting there owning a fourplex, a quad.
Yeah.
And you're living in one unit and renting out the other 3. And they're like, yo, why did you buy a house that you have to share with other people? And you're like, I have a vision.
Right.
I have this roadmap that is going to put me on track to have a wild amount of success in my future. And you know what? I'm going to accept that the next X amount of years of my life are going to be spent, sacrificing, comfort or sacrificing, the ability to go do things so that I can live like no one else.
Right.
And so that all starts somewhere. And in this episode, we talk about the objections of knowledge and ability. So if you let knowledge and ability get in the way of you even starting, you'll never end up where you want to be.
Right. Right. Just
So.
take some small steps.
That's right.
Download some extra podcasts or read an extra book. You know, just go through what we said and pick the strategy that works for you and stick to it. Work on it.
Right. And, you know, I try to remind our listeners every time that the reason we call this an On Purpose Investor podcast is that we want to help everyone be hyper intentional about what you're doing with your life and where you're going. And I kick off every episode by saying, hey, Pathfinders. And the reason I call you Pathfinders and the reason I address you as Pathfinders is that it is my hope that you will become a Pathfinder just like Charlie and Eliza in the book. They went from living the life that they were either told to live or the life that they were just living innately, like it was just happening.
Right. And
then they learned that a life of intentionality could blossom into an insane dream life. And it took them becoming a Pathfinder. So, On Purpose Investor podcast, we're all about hyper-intentionality, getting you to live your life on purpose, and by doing so, you become a Pathfinder. So, that's all I have. Off my soapbox.
All right. Thanks, y'all, for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about how you can start investing with no real estate experience. What lessons can you take from the podcast and apply to your life? Don't let the time you just invested go to waste. You only get one life, so live it purposefully. That's all we have for you today. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Head over to onpurposeinvestor.com and sign up for our newsletter to get all the latest updates. If you haven't already, we'd really appreciate an honest review wherever you watch our podcast. All right, now go smash that subscribe and follow button for more tips on building your dream life. See you next week, Pathfinders.